Hello and welcome to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. As always, we're coming live from the Sirius Star System studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well with everybody. So it is the start of Women's History Month, and as always, because I'm a nerd, I enjoy giving you guys fun facts, or at least they're fun to me. I don't know if they're fun to you, but let's start off with a couple fun facts for Women's History Month. One of the fun facts that I enjoy is the Nobel Prize, and there's only one woman called Marie Curie that is the only woman to ever win 2 Nobel Prizes, one in radiation and one in radioactivity. In fact, out of all the Nobel Prizes being won, only 58 women have had that honor. In 1777, a bill was used back in the British Parliament. A bill was being formed to that said that if women used makeup, you were going to be punished for witchcraft, and and I thought that was interesting. I said, "Oh, okay, well that's pretty interesting." And luckily, it didn't pass. But there was actually a bunch of people working for the British Parliament that thought that the use of makeup was distracting, that women were luring men with their looks and distracting them from their work, so they were going to punish them with witchcraft and all sorts of stuff. Good thing that didn't pass, right? The other thing is I think is an interesting fact is 17% of women hold congressional or Senate seats in the United States right now. That's pretty good. 14% of women are now in the military, whereas in 1950 there was less than 2%. And it's what's really funny is to understand that most women work in the highest or the most fields that women work in, or industries that they work in, are education, the health system, and the social service system. So there you go. There's a couple of fun facts for you. And if you guys want to find out more about what women have done in history and all the things that they're doing to make this world great, then go check it out. So we got a clothes drive. Let's rewind that. We got a clothes drive, a homeless clothes drive, March 27th. And so please, guys, if you have anything to donate, shoes, blankets, backpacks, water, anything that you can, soaps, shower gels, anything, toothbrush, toothpaste, please, we would really love to have it. And you can always find us. And you can find us on our Facebook at facebook.com/spirit communities. And also our GoFundMe link is there well. So before I get into tonight's show, I want to tell you that tonight might be a little rough for me. Last night I had a really crazy experience, and I won't go into too much detail, but I thought I was going into a meditation, and I had all this energy come inside of me and just start vibrating at a high level. And when I closed my eyes, I started repeating to myself that the old self must die. And the next thing I know, I felt my body shutting down, and my heart stopped, my body stopped, and then I was everywhere and anywhere. And it was such an amazing experience that it took me a long time. I'm still kind of I wasn't sure if I was going to do the show tonight because I've been kind of laying on the couch. It was such a wild experience of consciousness, of expansion of consciousness, because I was everywhere at the same time, and I could see everything that was going on, and the experiences that I was having at the same time, knowing that everything was in perfect order and everything was going the way it needed to be, was just an amazing feeling. And I had a choice to come back, whether or not I wanted to stay or whether I wanted to come back, and I chose to come back. And what was funny, it was right before I left. It was weird because it was like questions without actually hearing questions. But I was told that it was going to happen to me 6 more times as well. So when I came back, when I snapped it back into my body, it was very hard for me. I sat in the chair for about an hour and a half trying to refocus because I couldn't see. I couldn't really, I had a really hard time coming back, and it was really an interesting thing. So I'm going to write about it in the blog and kind of describe what the experience was and everything. And I don't want to take up too much of the time because I got a lot of stuff to go over, and you guys don't want to hear about that. You guys want to hear about the jump. But before we get into that, as always, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I always say Twitter, Periscope, LinkedIn, and Daily Motion, and the replays will be in the link below. So, all right, guys. Let's get into it, because why are you here? You're here for the jump, right? You're wondering, you're like, Miss Raina, what is going on in the world today? This is craziness. There's supposed viruses going on. There's fighting of racism. There's all these there's all these people fighting over politics, which side's better, and just it's always seems to be a fight. Religion versus spirituality. Everybody's fighting country versus country. Everything seems to be going crazy. And yes, it seems that way if that is your perception, and because our perception is our reality of what we feel inside, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But it is true that how we perceive the world to be is really what we believe to see. And so when we're looking, and we're going to get into what the jump is, but I want you guys to understand something because I really want you to take in this information, because whether you recognize that we're going through a spiritual evolution or not, we are, and that's okay. If you can't see it, or if you don't want to see it, that's okay. That means you'll just fall into one of the categories that we're going to talk about. But if you're seeing this and you're saying, "Oh, I know something's going on, but I just don't know what it is," well, I'm glad you're here, because this is part of our spiritual evolution that we've been preparing for a very long time. And the actual name of it is called the jump. And I know there's a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, we're going from 3D to 5D," and people don't understand what that means. And yes, in a way we are. We're not transitioning. Like I have a YouTube video coming out that explains the 5D, and I won't get too much into that, but we're not transitioning through a portal. Like Earth isn't moving through a portal and going into the 5th dimension. That's not happening. What's happening is we're bringing in a higher form of consciousness of the 5-dimensional world. And where if we understand dimensional realities, then we understand that a lot of what we call angels or spirit guides or masters and that reside in the 5th dimension. And so we're moving more towards from a ego-based society where we always have to be right and wrong about, or we believe in these ideas of right or wrong, where we have to be right or wrong, where we need justification, where we blame other people and hold on to belief systems that are past due, and we're moving into a more higher conscious. But the first thing I'm going to tell you guys is it is your choice whether or not you want to go through this. You don't have to go through this. You don't have to go through the jump. The jump is going to be a little bit of a chaotic mess, because when we're transitioning, when we're growing, when we're removing, when a snake is shedding its old skin, it's uncomfortable and it's messy, and it peels its skin off slowly until it finally sheds its old skin. And yes, you're going to have to go through things in order for you to understand that. So basically, the jump is the next stage in our human evolution. It is a conscious shift from being into a materialistic world into a life of perception and awareness, especially when it comes to self, because you have to remember that all of this is just constructs. These are constructs created by our consciousness that says, hey, this is an actual real thing. This microphone is real. This body is real. But these are just constructs of our consciousness that are creating this idea of reality. But so what we have to understand is we're shifting from saying, hey, well, look at this iPhone. I got to be on my iPhone. I got to have the best iPhone because that's going to fill something inside of me, to saying, hey, you know what? everything's working out. Everything, you know what? I want to know more about me. Who am I? What's going on? What can I be? Because in reality, when we talk about I am and the conscious awareness of who we really are, the question that we always ask ourselves is, who can we be? What possibilities can we be? What are the things that we can be? And that is what we call evolution. That is what we call life. That is how we perceive life and live life, is by answering that question. So every person that is incarnated into this world is their consciousness is asking, what can I be? What perception can I gain? What knowledge can I gain by being this character? And in order for us to grow, we have to get past a materialistic, low vibrational type of world into a higher vibration. And in order for us to do that, we have to grow up. It's kind of like when you were a kid, you always used to have your favorite blanket, or you used to have your favorite stuffed animal, and you slept with it all the time because it gave you a sense of security. And that's what your belief systems are doing. You hang on to belief systems because they are security. It's not the fact that they're actually true, because they're belief systems, but the fact of the matter is you hang on to them because of that fact is, hey, if I believe this is a possibility, and this makes me feel better about myself and life. And so we hang on to that idea. And this is the idea that we have to start growing up, and we have to start looking and saying, you know what? Maybe it's time to, as much as I love my stuffed animal, maybe it's time to put it away. As much as I love my belief systems, maybe it's time to set them aside and see what else is out there. We don't believe the same thing that we believe when we're 5 years old, do we? We don't. And why not? Because we've grown up. We don't believe the same. If you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, you don't believe the same thing that you believed when you were a teenager, right? No, of course not. Why? Because you grew up, you matured. And that's the same thing that's going on. You have to start maturing. You have to start taking an active role in being mature. And until you understand that concept, until you start being active daily, catching yourself in awareness of saying things and doing things and how you're reacting, is the same way that is the same way that you're going to have to learn to evolve through that. And this conscious awareness is going to help us grow up. It's going to help us. It's going to allow us to see the truth of who we are. Because truth be told, and we'll discuss this later, but we have blinders on. We only see what's right in front of us. And most of us who think we're aware, most of us who think we know all this information, are going to be knocked off, because they're going to be like, wow, oh my God, I have no clue. I didn't know. I don't know anything. Because when we really understand the idea of consciousness and life and all this stuff, we really start to see that we don't know who we are. We don't know what we're doing, because we're at such a young age. And the purpose of this evolution is to help us evolve. We have to grow up. We have to evolve. We have to know who we are. We have to have these experiences of chaos in order for us to learn that, in order for us to learn how to see our perception of self. Because when chaos happens in our life, it is because that is what we're attracting. And yes, of course, we hear that all the time. You attract what you put out there. But we don't really understand that idea. We don't really realize that we are vibration. We are like, our body vibrates at a constant, and we're going to get into this a little bit later too, but we constantly vibrate at a certain levels. And depending on what your thoughts are daily, is what you're going to vibrate at. And so if you're always worried, if you're always angry, stressing, blaming stuff, you're going to vibrate at a very low, long vibration where time is going to stretch out and time is going to seem long. And we'll get into this a little bit later again, but you're going to see that. And when you start to vibrate at a higher vibration, things are going to happen more. So if you're always in this idea of fighting for rights and fighting for all these things and victimizing yourself to past experiences, then you are vibrating at a low vibration, and that is the world you're creating. And so this consciousness is not only allowing us to hear that, because we've heard that a million times. Hey, you vibrate, you put out what you get, or you get what you put out. But you're going to start understanding that at a fundamental level now, because you're going to start experiencing that life every single moment. And that's the reason why things like COVID came around. Hey, it had a 99.2% survival rate, 99.2%. And people are freaking out over COVID because they hear a couple people die. Well, the flu every year still kills, but because they are conscious at a lower vibration, they freak out because that is what they want to focus on. They want to focus on the lower vibration. It doesn't matter rationality to anybody. I'm not just picking on COVID. I'm picking on anything, or I shouldn't say I'm picking on, but anything that we're looking at, where we're trying to understand what's in our life, is because that's where we're vibrating at. And so whether it's COVID, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's our lives, whether it's relationships, whatever it is, that is what we're vibrating, and that is what we're going to start seeing back all the time now, where it's going to be in our face until we get sick of it, until we decide, hey, I don't want this anymore. But this low, dense vibrational state, we must move past, and we must be able to be emotionally aware of who we are. We must be able to reach out and say, hey, you know what? This is something that is not helpful to me anymore. I have to grow past this. I have to be the one to be able to move past this. And until you do, this is where we're going to be at. So the time periods of this jump is going to be from 2020 to 2025, which is the main part. Then afterwards, there's going to be after effects from 2026 all the way to 2060. And because transition and evolution doesn't happen overnight, it takes time. And even then, it's still going to trickle out and do its thing. But there are going to be things called hyper jumps in between those periods, where sections of humanity and sections of people are going to see pure growth. You are not going to grow if you don't try. And that's just plain and simple. I just like to be real with you guys in that sense and be truthful with you guys. If you're not working on yourself, if you're not actively trying to grow and trying to get away and trying not to work on your emotions and perception and trying to evolve from your belief systems, then you're not going to grow. And this jump is going to be even more chaotic for you than ever before, because you're going to see this idea of blockages and limitations constantly in your life, and it's going to grow more and more frustrating, because that's all you're going to see. It's going to be the funniest thing in the world, because you're looking at it and you're trying and you're not understanding what it is, but it's all about you. This evolution, this jump is all about what you're experiencing. So how evolution is going to take place, spiritually speaking, is because the universe and everything is vibration. And so we have to start thinking in vibration and waveforms and particles and everything. And in order for us to understand that and understand life, then we have to realize that that every moment of a second, you are a constant vibration. You are a constant waving, putting out these ideas of waves all over the world, all over consciousness, all over the third dimension, until you resonate with what you're going to resonate with. And so if you're resonating with self-love and acceptance, then you're going to pull out those ideas of self-love and that idea of self-love and acceptance. And those ideas are going to teach you things. They're going to show you things about yourself and things about life that you've never seen before. If you're vibrating at a very low, dense thing of jealousy and anger and blame and hate and all these other things, then that's what you're going to vibrate. And the universe is going to be able to attract that. The universe is going to have that idea surround you, because it's meant to teach you during this time. And so you have to understand that the universe and everything in it is vibration. We think of consciousness and we think energy right away. Well, energy is vibration. It's wave. It's in its waveform, and that's how. Think of it almost like a wave of the ocean. If your consciousness is an ocean, and you're trying to reach and see what's out there, well, those are the waves that are going out there, and it's finally hitting those lands, and whatever land of vibration that you're going to sit with is what's actually going to take place. And so that's one way you can understand it. You have to learn to express and understand yourself. Learning to express and understand yourself is something that you must understand about who you are, because remember, the throat chakra, I should say, is all about expression, is all about vibration. And in order for us to express ourselves in that sense. We have to be able to open up. We have to be able to express who we are, because this of who we are as beings, as people here in the world is an expression. We are an expression of our consciousness acting out a role so that we can evolve through evolution. And we don't evolve through evolution unless we understand each other, or understand ourselves, I should say. So, all right, guys, I'm going to take a break because I need a little bit of water, and we will be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back, and if you're just joining us, we are talking about the jump, which is the next stage in our human evolution. And so we have to learn that we are expression, and that expression helps create in the third dimension. It helps create what we see. And without expression, we can't understand who we are or experience what we're trying to experience, which is the ultimate goal of unity through duality. And so we have to understand these ideas and lessons. And we have to realize this for us to evolve. We have to realize that the idea of getting past separation. Separation is the idea that everybody's different, everybody's separate, you're different from me and I'm different from you. But at the same time, we are the same being having different perspectives actually right now. And even though you're listening to me, I'm listening and I'm speaking, we're the same person, the same being having two different perspectives. So in a way, we're growing with each other and teaching each other and evolving through each other, even though we're the same being. And we have to understand that, because our bodies do not come here with knowledge. They don't come with understanding. They don't come with wisdom. It's through our experiences, through our pain and suffering, that allows us to grow through that idea, so that we can start to learn knowledge, that we can start to learn how to understand, and we can start to gain wisdom. Because remember, just because you have knowledge doesn't mean you have wisdom. And so knowledge is very key to a lot of things, but the only way you can get wisdom is through understanding. So if you're not taking time every single day to pay attention to who you are, what you say, what fears you give into, what ideas you have troubles with, what people, how you get angry, your triggers, if you're not understanding that every day, then you're taking all this knowledge and you're just throwing it away. Because the only way knowledge transfers into wisdom is through understanding. Because what is wisdom? It's understanding the material that you have. And that's one of the greatest things about this jump, is because instead of looking at the life and the world as everything's chaotic, everyone's fighting, all these different things, start to understand, start to think, see things in a different perception. See things that, hey, those people are me. And in order for those people to grow, they have to go through this. They have to experience this in order for me, or in order for them to evolve, in order for them to gain wisdom. Because right now, through the fighting and the chaos, they're gaining knowledge. They're learning that, hey, this isn't doing anything. Even as painful and as crazy as it seems, it's not doing anything. And that knowledge is going to eventually turn into understanding, and that understanding will eventually turn to wisdom. And that's why we have to have a consciousness and compassion for those that are learning that idea. It's not compassion as far as, oh, poor people. It's compassion of, hey, those people are learning some really hard lessons so that they can grow. Well, let's help them grow. And that's why being compassionate towards others is the way to be, is because that idea of compassion will help them take that knowledge to understanding and wisdom. So when we have that, when we have this knowledge and we're having our minds wiped and we have all these things, we created a very low, dense vibration, and it keeps us from understanding who we are. This is why we fight all the time, and this is why there's a lot of fighting going on. Because as we're going through life and we're trying to understand what's going on, we're held to the things by our beliefs. So our ideas by our beliefs. So our ideas are saying, well, okay, well, I believe this because this is what I was taught. I was taught to believe in this, and I was taught to believe in this ideal and all these other things. And so we hold on to those ideas as safety nets because we think that those things are going to bring us something because we have fear, because we don't have an understanding of who we are. And so we fight for those ideas because we're trying to understand what is going on, and we're trying to make sense of who we are through fighting. We figured, hey, if I fight, if I really stick to my guns and I really believe this, and no one's going to make me change and stuff, well, then that's going to show them that I really believe in something and that's why people get offended all the time that when you say something new, is because they think that you're trying to take away from who they are, and that's not at all. It's a lot of times when people are trying to give you the gift of knowledge and wisdom, they're trying to help you grow, and a lot of people take it personally. So the next time someone comes to you with a different idea or a different way of living, or hey, even this show, maybe you've taken things I've said personally, maybe even this show, maybe something's hit you and you're taking it personally. Maybe try to understand that the knowledge is trying to turn itself into wisdom. Doesn't mean you have to agree 100%, but maybe there's a piece of nugget in there that you're rejecting, and that's what's triggering you. And so we see this idea of duality because we think that duality is this idea of right and wrong and good and bad, and it's not. Duality is supposed to teach us pain and suffering and perspective and ideas so that we can learn how to grow in wisdom. If we don't have duality, then we don't have life, because in order for us to say, hey, I need to experience this, then I need to have a different perception. That is why when people say, oh, well, if you're mean this lifetime, or if you're rich and famous and mean this time, and all of a sudden the next time you're going to come back poor because you're going to be punished. That's actually not true. What's actually happening is that sometimes people purposely set their lives up to be that way so that the next life they can see the polar opposite. So they could say, hey, I had money, I was mean to people, I valued this. Now I need to see the other perspective. So how can I see the other perspective? Well, since I was rich, I'll be poor. Since I was mean, I'll be nice. Since I was unforgiving, I'll be understanding. And since I didn't care, now I'll care too much and I wonder why this. And so it's the complete opposite, so that you can see both perspectives and gain wisdom. And that's what's going on in kind of like a big jump right now. Is during this jump, we're seeing all these different changes and perspectives happening all at once. And because everyone's trying to hold on to their perspective instead of grow with it, we're seeing all this chaos. And people always ask me, so Miss Raina, then, if all this chaos is happening, then why is the jump happening now? Well, quite frankly, most people are ready for it. I shouldn't say most people. The portion of the good portion of humanity that is woken up is ready for it. There's still a lot of people that aren't ready for it, and they'll have their chance in future jumps to grow. But as of right now, evolution is trying to force us, our own soul, our own spirits are trying to force us to grow up so that we can evolve into greater conscious beings. And quite frankly, it is time to grow up. I mean, we've had the same ideals, we've had the same religion and spiritual beliefs, we've had the same political beliefs forever, and it's not working out for us. I mean, a lot of people may say it is, but it's not. I mean, think of all the millions of people, the judgments, all the hate, all the chaos, all the fight. Like, take politics right now, especially in the United States. Two parties on each side fight all the time over each other. Both think they're better than each other and can't see how angry and nasty they're being. And that's not working, obviously. Religion, spirituality, whatever it is, life, relationships, it's not working. And why is because we're too separated. And it is time. And so now life is kicking us. Duality is kicking us back into focus. It's saying, hey, it's time to refocus on what's important. What's important is realigning consciousness with ourselves, is realigning ourselves to us. It even happened to me. I was playing softball all the time. I kind of got distracted, and life said, hey, it's time to realign. I could have sat there and said, oh my God, and complained about it. I knew exactly what happened with as soon as my heart went down. It wasn't an actual physical problem, even though it was, but it was more on the mental and emotional, and it took my focus back to where I needed to be. And so that is what you have to understand, is that right now you're going through chaos and you're seeing chaos because duality works that way. When you go too far to the light or you go too far to the darkness, one or the other, and I don't mean light isn't good, dark isn't evil. I mean positive as in positive charge, negative as in negative charge, like a magnet, like polarity. And so when you go one side too far, the other side kicks you back. It says, hey, you're too far on that side, and it brings you back, and it brings you back under any means necessary. And most of the time, that is what we call chaos. So if you think about what prepared us for it, it's similar to learning things in evolution as far as school. If you take school, and I use school all the time because we've all been to school. And if you're when you're young, you go through preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and so on. You don't go from first grade to eighth grade or high school. You build up. I mean, I know some of us who were smart enough to skip grades, but you went through each of those classes in order to build up, because you had to learn the material, and that is what life has to do. Life and people and humanity had to go through all this chaos, all this lessons, all these things to get to this point. And this isn't the first jump that has happened. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but this isn't the first. And so we have to look at that, and we have to realize that we are starting to grow up. We're starting to look, and we're starting to become spiritually mature enough to have an understanding of growth. Those that don't have an understanding are going to fight this like a little child, screaming and kicking and fighting their throwing a tantrum, like their parents won't give them the prize or the toy that they want. And so we really have to take a look for it. Over the next 5 years, it's going to look and appear chaotic. If you are a person that lives in fear, that lives in judgment, that lives in anger or resentment, that is what you're going to see. If you're a person that's trying to grow, then you're going to look at things and say, wow, life is changing right now. We had our whole country, the whole world shut down for a year. It's still shut down in many parts. So it's over a year that this is going on. And a lot of people are like, oh, this is so horrible. It didn't bother me one bit. And why didn't it bother me? Because my perception of life, my wave, my vibration was understanding, hey, we're going through a period of change. In order for life to change, everything has to be broken down. So it wasn't personal to me. It's personal to you because you take it personal, and that's the vibration that you send out, and that's what you get back, is everything's personal. Oh my God, COVID came around, life shut down, how horrible, this is horrible. And because that's where you are, that is a reflection of where you're at. And so, yes, it will appear chaotic if you look at it as chaos. And you'll see people fighting over belief systems. People will be unwilling to change. You'll see resistance as far people will try to stick to what's theirs. No, I believe in this. You're not going to change me. And that you're going to see that. You're going to see a resurgence in hate, racism, fighting, sexism, all sorts of different things. You're going to see this if that's where your perception of life is in. Yes, these things are out there. Yes, I agree 100%. There is racism, there is sexism, there's all these different things. People fight over that. Yes, but you don't have to take part in that if you don't want to. You don't have to do it. If your vibration is a higher level, the lower level vibration will not bother you. It won't affect you. Today, I went to BJ's. I wasn't feeling good with what happened last night, and someone cut me off. I didn't react to it. I mean, the person was very rude about it, just blamed and just kind of like put their hand up like, yeah, whatever, who cares, I did that to you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Okay, that's cool. And why? Because it doesn't matter, because that person's vibration is not syncing with mine, and I'm not going to allow it to sync with mine. So if you're seeing the world is falling apart, on fire, doomsday, then that tells you that we play the victim inside. You're under the illusion that the world is a hateful and scary and mean place. And yes, parts of it can be, if that's where you focus on. If you change your vibration and you grow through consciousness by working on yourself, then you're going to see something else. Those who are growing are going to see that, oh, your old life is being stripped away, and that's an awesome thing. My old life is stripped away. I used to be into a lot of things. I used to be into the fetish lifestyle and all of those, even softball and football, and all of that's gone. I used to be upset, being like thinking, well, maybe if my heart never gets healthy enough, maybe I'll never be able to play sports again. And honestly, right now, if that happens, that's okay. My life and where I'm at, my old belief systems, my old thought processes, the way things I like are gone. And I'm just looking at life for what it is right now. And so that conscious awareness, those that are growing, that conscious awareness to see self and others, they won't get caught up in fighting with people or chaos. They're going to start to see themselves in others. So what that means is when you start seeing someone reacting, you're going to see yourself in that person, and you're going to have compassion for them, because you're going to realize that that person is you having a different experience and having a different perception. So you're not going to hate yourself for being somebody else, because you know that being is you trying to gain experience all at once. And that's the great thing. And you're going to remove yourself from a low, dense vibration, and we're going to start moving ourselves and realizing that there's into the universal laws. And we'll talk about those later, because there's kind of like 7 laws that correlate with the chakra systems. But you're going to start seeing these things. And one of the things that you're going to start experiencing is that there's going to be an expansive internal battle inside of you. You're going to deal with new versus old perceptions. You're going to want to hang on to your old perceptions, but you're going to sense and you're going to thirst and crave that there's something more. And so it's going to be like this internal battle going on that's different than the internal battle that you're going through right now. And so this is going to be expansive, and you're going to see that, and you're going to be very emotional at times. And depending on how you want to work on yourself, if you notice that these things are going on and you know that this is for your growth, then you'll be able to handle it easier. But if you don't and you fight it, then that jump is going to tear you apart, and it's going to break you down, and your self-awareness is going to be broken down into a very low state. The self-awareness grows, and it's going to break down the ego, and that's what this is doing. You have to break down that selfish ego inside of us, the one that wants that id form, that really, as Sigmund Freud would say, that id, that really I want, because that's where most of us are living. We have to, when we start to grow in consciousness, one of the things that we want the most is that we want more from life. We crave it. Like every single day I wake up, I want to know more. I want to know what I don't know. I want to know more about what I know. I want to grow and constantly. I look up at the stars every night and look up at the sky during the day, and I read the plants and I read the trees, and I sit there and I try to communicate with everything, and I just feel the vibrations, and I stick my hands on the ground when I'm sitting, and I feel the earth vibrating, and I'm trying to figure out, talk to me. What communications are you? Because I want to know more. And that's where consciousness is growing. That's when you're evolving into a higher vibration, is because you seek out more. When you're at a very low vibration, you're stagnant more, and you don't want to know. Everything bothers you. You take everything personal, and habits, you stick to your habits and everything. And when you grow, habits don't care anymore. Your belief system don't. I don't care if I'm right or wrong about something. If I have information today and that's the information I have, and 2 years from now I find out that I was off on it, hey, okay, I was off. I was wrong, if you want to say it. I don't care about that. I want to always be expanding. I want to always be evolving. I want to know and grow more. And I have to release that. When we fight ourselves, because what's going to end up happening is you may not make it through the jump and you may fight it, but eventually evolution is going to say, you know what, you still have to grow up. And what's going to happen is that side of duality is going to come back and kick you in the butt and snap you back, but it's going to do it in a very harsh way. And how harsh does it do it? It does it in things such as illness. Maybe you'll get a disease, maybe you'll get sickness, maybe you'll have your heart give out on you like I did mine. Or what you'll end up doing is you'll have maybe a car wreck or something very traumatic, maybe an injury that takes you out for a while. And that because life wants to bring you back to who you are. And the further away you go, whatever side you go, and that you start to pull away and you start to lose that balance, what we call balance, that centeredness of who we are. And that's why this idea of positive and negative aren't true. You have to stop saying that things are positive and things are negative because they're not. Because if you try to be too positive, that negative side, that negative polarity is going to kick you in the butt to snap you back to being centered. If you go to too much on the negative polarity side, that positive side is going to kick you in the butt and snap you back, because the whole thing is about being neutral. And so we have to start understanding that. We'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back for the last part. And so why are some people seeing this jump and some people aren't? Well, because the ones that aren't just aren't ready. They're not ready. They're not willing. They don't have an open mind to see what's going on. They don't want to see what's going on, or they're just not ready. They could be nice and wonderful people, but they're just not ready to evolve. They're just not ready to give up who they are, what they believe, what they think about life, to evolve to something more. And that's just plain and simple. They're stuck in separation. They see things as separate. They see things with limitations. They see their own life with limitations. And they're involved in their ego. And the ego, of course, doesn't mean that they have to be all egotistical, but sometimes ego can be, well, you know, they're just so self-involved in their own problems and their own pain and suffering that they don't want to see it. And so they want to fight more. They want to argue more. They think that that's more important than understanding. And they live there because the ego and that vibration keeps them down. And one of the other things is they just don't, they live in fear. Fear, people, really, really hinders your growth. If you live in fear, whether it's about COVID, whether it's about life, whether it's about racism, whether it's about whatever it is, relationships, whatever it is, sexuality, whatever it is in life that you're afraid of, if you live in fear and you let society tell you and you go along with the fear, you're never going to grow. And I'm sorry to be honest with you that way, but you're never going to grow in that sense. You have to evolve past your fear. You have to stop. I don't care what is out there. I really don't. If you allow fear to control you, then you will never grow, and you have to start moving past that. The people that are seeing the evolutionary change or the jump that's going on are the people that are willing to. They're open to it. They're saying, hey, you know what? I love myself. I like life, but I want more. I want to open my eyes to new ideas and open mind. I want to try new things. I want to expand my consciousness. I want, you know what? I'm afraid of this, but let's try it just to see what it's really. I never liked this, but let's try it again to see what's like. They want to be more understanding. They don't like being this person of being judgmental anymore. They realize that that's not a place that they want to be. And so they stop being that person and they start seeing other people as themselves, because those are the people that are going to grow. Those are the people that are going to experience life as the fullest. And they want to work together. They want to see people, everybody needs to start working together, and they want that, because I want to work with people. At one time, I had a hard time with people because I was going through some things emotionally and some mental stuff, and I had a hard time being around people. So working with people was a big challenge for me. Now, I don't mind people. The more the merrier. I know this job isn't going to get done by me. It's too big of a job. And I always look for people to help out and grow and do all sorts of things. And so it takes a world. It takes that idea for us to grow. And they don't take sides. They start stopping taking sides in politics, religion, spirituality, gender, whatever it is, relationships, or, boy versus girl, whatever it is, they stop taking sides. And that's one of my best things I could say to people. Stop taking sides. There is no right or wrong side. There is no better or worse side. You may think that there is because you're in a side of limitation, but once you remove yourself from that, you're going to see how limited you put yourself into and how much hate and chaos you put yourself into just because you think of the idea of that one is better or one is worse. And you have to start moving towards value and a value of understanding and love. You have to start understanding that. Let's be of love. Let's be of understanding. Let's try to understand someone else instead of being right. Even if you totally disagree, or even if they totally say like they post something or make an article of something and it's totally harsh in every which way. I actually posted something on a group that I belong to, and it was very harsh for a lot of people. But that's because their perception took it personally. I looked at this article, and yes, from that perspective, it was a very harsh article. I can understand that. But I didn't take it personally because I knew this wasn't directed at me. And because I looked at it as, what is this person trying to get? What is this person trying to understand? And when you're going through this jump and you're trying to do that, you have to start looking at things. You can't say, wow, that was horrible. That person's an awful person. No, in their perception, they're right. In their perception, they think they're doing what's best for their ideas of God or goddess or themselves or personal morals or whatever, but it's all subjective and it's all judgments, but they don't see that. But you as a higher conscious person must remove yourself from that and start to say things like, I have to understand. If I want to evolve, I have to not take things like that personally, and I have to understand that in order for me to evolve. And then you'll start moving through the chakra system. And I know that we only got 15 minutes, and I got so many things that I want to talk about, but one of the things I'm going to try to find, if I can find it, is I want to talk about the concepts of polarity and the chakra systems for the last 10 minutes because this is really important for us. In order for us to grow, we have to use self-reflection. Self-reflection gives us the idea of who we are in perception. So if we look at a mirror, we can see ourselves, right? And then we usually judge ourselves, right? We judge ourselves and say, I got too much fat. I don't like my face. I don't like the skin. I don't like the freckles. I don't like my hair. We always got something to say about ourselves, unless we're one of those that work out at the gym all the time and we just absolutely love ourselves in an egotistical way. Then we can't stop looking at ourselves, right? But self-reflection is meant to teach us through experience. What did we learn? If you're not taking every experience, every conversation, every disagreement, every agreement, if you're not taking everything, if you're not having a conversation and at the same time you're paying attention to the conversation or the experience and thinking to yourself, what's going on here? What am I doing? Then you're not learning. Because every single time what we end up doing is we have this idea where we have to have self-reflection. And so when we're going through experience, I want you to start listening to the people and really pay attention, but also learn to start saying, what's going on here? What am I actually hearing? What am I actually experiencing? Because we have to say, what is this person? If I was this person because I am, what am I seeing through this ourselves? And this will give us a new period. This will give us a new perception of the period that we're going through. And then this allows us to go inside and find the pyramid, because inside of us, we have the triangle, the pyramid. And when we double that, we get the octahedron, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But polarity is important for us to understand, especially going through the jump. And why do I say that? is because one, polarity is two-dimensional. It's what we call positive and negative. And we talked about this a little bit. Positive is not good. Negative is not bad. One side is not better than the other. You must get this to understand polarity. Polarity is an attraction, just like two magnets. One side is attracted to the other, always trying to meet up with each other, but can never do it. And so they spin around and around and around, and that trying to ever chase each other. And that is what even the yin yang symbol of Chinese culture does. It's one side's positive, one side's negative. In order for it to make a whole circle, they work in unison with each other. And so polarity teaches us a way to evolve. So one side we can call it positive, and we could have one experience, and the other side we can have the opposite side, and we can have a negative experience. And I don't mean negative isn't bad, but it's just a different perception. And so we have to see that everything in the world is generated through polarity. We have night to day, masculine to feminine, and I don't mean male and female, I mean masculine and feminine. And that, so we have all this. You yourself is made up of polarity. You yourself, of all the atoms, of all the, you have polarity in all the atoms. You have electrons, protons, neutrons. You have all these things. And then you have quarks inside you, and 2 up, 1 down, 2 down, 1 up, in order for you to understand. That's all physics. But everything is generated through polarity, because it's constant creation. Polarity is constantly creating in the third duality of way of existing. In order for you to exist right now, in order for you to grow and evolve, especially through this jump, you have to have polarity. So every time you have an experience, there's another experience to teach you something else, no matter what it is. Some people call it karma, some people call it other things, but that's because we don't really understand what karma is. But everything has a polarity. No matter what you send out, no matter what you create, no matter what's in life, that it's all done through polarity. It's all done through that idea. And so this creates the duality of the third dimension, and it allows the perception to see, what can I be? In order for you to grow, have you ever asked yourself what you can be? And I know we talked about this a few minutes ago, but have you ever said, hey, what else can I be? I'm this person, and I've experienced this, but what else can I be? And if you're not asking those questions, then start asking yourself those questions, because those questions are very important for us to understand. We're not masculine and we're not feminine. We're both. We're both masculine and we're both feminine. You have both inside. It doesn't matter if you're a male. It doesn't matter if you're a female. Feminine, it has a power. It has an idea. It has certain traits and qualities to it. And masculine does too. And in order for them to work, they have to work in unison. Feminine is slow, reflective, and dark, not as in bad. But masculine is in fast, active, and light, not as in good. But because we don't have these ideas, and because we've been dominated by a male society, we think that masculine is good and light is good and feminine is dark and bad. And so we have this really crazy idea. But when we start to understand this concept, we start to see that everything has polarity. Even right now, during this show, there's polarity happening. And I'm not going to go through it. Maybe on the sessions, I'll talk about why there's polarity happening. But everything that we're experiencing right now, even inside you, as you're contemplating what I'm saying, that's polarity happening. That's self-reflection. Hey, Miss Raina's talking about something. This triggered this idea and this experience, and boom, what can I learn from it? Why is this triggering it? Why is this happening? And that is what I'm talking about. And so the chakra systems are very important for our ideas. And yes, when we hear chakra, we think of New Age and we think, oh, Miss Raina's good. But no, these energy systems which create the laws of the universe are important for us, because they do drive who we are. And we tend to think of them as 7 chakras. So there's 7 different universal laws, and all 7 of them relate to the 7th dimension. And we think of the 7th dimension of what most people call heaven. When people pass on, or when certain religions say, oh, you're going to heaven, that's where they think of is the 7th dimension. But not everyone stays in the 7th dimension. And one day I'll go into the 7th dimension, what it's really like and what it's really about. But these chakra systems systems go through all the dimensions. All 7 ones go through 7 different dimensions, so that we can understand and go through each one to become whole. And that's the problem that we're having in life, is we don't understand where we're at in our life. And so if we look at these chakras, most of us are stuck, and I'm just doing my air quotes because there's no such thing as stuck or lost. But most people are stuck at certain chakras or laws because they're limited by their perception. And so people who are very emotional, a lot of times are stuck in the rhythm or in the heart, which is rhythm. The heart has rhythm. It flows with vibration, and all the chakra systems, all the chakras talk to each other and tell and create reality. That's why things like the mental mind, mentalism, things like that, like which is our crown chakra, we think of that idea of whatever we're creating. We think of the law of attraction. Oh, if I think of something, I'm creating it. But what you don't realize is you're doing it every single day. Whatever you believe about yourself is what you're creating. And that's why I always tell people, if you see anger in the world all the time, well, you're an angry person. If you see injustice in the world, well, that's because you view yourself as a victim. If you see sexism all the time in the world, well, that's because you see yourself in a certain way. If you see the world as unforgiving, well, that's because you're unforgiving towards yourself. And so whatever way you see the world, you're creating by your mind, your mentalism, which is the crown chakra, and your vibrations through the rhythm and through the vibrations through whatever chakras, and the body goes into tact with that. And so depending on where we're at, if we're stuck, and we always try to think of, I always see these chakra systems as, well, the root chakra is based towards money and materialisms, and the sacral chakra is geared towards, yes, that is true, but those chakras work in tandem with one another, and depending on where you're vibrating all the time is where you're going to send out. One chakra isn't better than the other. It doesn't mean the higher you go, the more enlightened you are, because enlightenment is just a term that doesn't exist. It really doesn't. And when you evolve to a higher consciousness, you'll understand that enlightenment really isn't a thing. So it's all about becoming one. As Eastern medicine would say, the Kundalini, right? In order for you to reach that empowerment of self, you have to awaken the Kundalini, which is a snake that goes from your root chakra all the way up to your crown chakra. But what the idea behind that is not actually waking up a snake. It means it's unifying all the different chakra systems, so that whatever you create will send out that cause and effect, will send out that vibration. I'm going to think about and feel about this and express this way. And because I'm aligned, that's what I'm going to create. And that's the universe, that's the world that's going to come back to me. But because I see myself as not understanding, or I don't believe in myself, or I'm angry at this person, I'm going to be dysfunctional in the chakras, and I'm going to send out that type of vibration, and that's what's going to come back to me. And it isn't until we learn to balance these and open these up to look at those and to unify them until we start to grow. And so all of this is awakening us through the jump so that we can understand it. So, all right, guys, I see that we're almost out of time here. I think I'm like a minute or two behind. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you have any questions, please email me at transcendentaltransformations@gmail.com. Follow us on our Facebook at Transcendental Transformation. Our YouTube is Transcendental Transformations Radio Show. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com, and sign up for our newsletter to receive hidden shows and VIP access and special guest offers. And if you enjoyed tonight's show, please share it with other people. The only way we're going to reach people and help other people grow is if you guys are involved and be a part of this as well. Because remember, consciousness is not just one person doing it, it's all of us working together to enlighten consciousness. So always remember to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities, our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.